call this meeting to order for the Historic District Review Board on September 21st, 2021. Can I get a roll call?
Mayor, present.
Glasser, present.
Tom present.
Wells,
Drew
present.
present.
We established a quorum. Can we all stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment? Okay, there's no public comment. Can I get an approval for the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, unfinished business. Item A, it's 515 Mason Avenue. I think Mr. Williams is on the phone. Are you there, Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Can you go over your application for us? I know we've heard from you before.
Yeah, this is, we were waiting on the site plan and survey, so this is for the screen porch addition, originally submitted at 15 by 15. The natural kind of flow of the house ended up being 14 by 14 and a half. The big things for it would be to, obviously, it'd be the same materials as the rest of the property with regards to decking and columns, which were approved for the main house on the last board. And then we were looking to add a window from the kitchen out onto the screen porch. So this was an addition at some point, as well as the other lower side of the back half of the house was an addition. So we're not sure, how it was originally configured. But if you see maybe some of the original pictures, there was a HVAC like chimney that they built just to hide the ductwork. So we would be removing that, to get back, flat as well.
So it's that rear chimney chase that you have X'd out on
Yeah,
this? Okay.
it was, yeah, correct, yeah, on, what's page, maybe 7 of the agenda.
Yeah, this is the rear of the house, the rear of the property. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
No. I mean, it didn't serve any purpose.
No.
I feel like we've discussed this now at least 2 other times.
I believe so.
This was just updating the site plan, if I'm
Right.
correct.
Right.
Well, I think the addition of the screen porch was added.
That's correct. We've not acted on the request for the rear porch addition yet because we were waiting on the site plan. So you're now prepared and able to act on that this evening.
So is there any concerns on your end, Katie?
No concerns, and they're in compliance.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve that look upon, since we've redone this this is the 3rd time we've looked at the house.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Can we get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The application's been approved. Good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen, Katie, Tracy, everyone, appreciate it, have a good evening.
You too.
You're welcome. Okay, next up on under unfinished business is 403 Madison Avenue, Susan and MJ Galabart. Are they present?
Hi,
Hello.
I'm MJ Gallavart. My wife Suzanne and I are building a house at 403 Madison Avenue, right next to the house we currently live in. And I think we went over most everything last time. We talked about
have anything as far as zoning concerns?
He is correct on this. So that was the holdout issue or item of concern from the last meeting. We've gotten clarification, they've changed the materials. We have confirmed that there is no thickness requirement within our guidelines or in the zoning ordinance relative to hardy plank. So we feel he is now in compliance with the zoning ordinance.
I actually had a question, I don't know if it,
And I should correct, and they've supplied us the distance between the house and the accessory structure as well, so we're in conformance there as well.
okay, on the agenda here, on these specs, it has vinyl siding will be permitted as long as each individual clapboard is no wider than 5 inches. This is under the zoning code, isn't it?
That's correct.
So this is the problem we have with our guidelines. In our guidelines, it says no vinyl siding. And in the zoning, it has nothing wider than 5 inches, and vinyl is accepted. So how are we supposed to work with this?
Well, I think that's one of the issues that the consultant that's on board now for the town will be looking at to address.
Well, my thing is, why wouldn't we have the zoning guidelines also, the zoning ordinances, if we're gonna have to deal with these types of situations?
What do you mean?
Well,
The zoning ordinance?
we have, this is coming from the zoning ordinance,
Yes.
and we don't have access to that really it's not really our purview. So I don't understand how that comes into being part of an applicant's, if you're dealing with the Historic District Review Board, why would they have two different
Sure.
agencies? to
Sure,
deal with?
so let me stop for 1 second. I think in terms of this particular application, they have removed vinyl from their materials list, and they've
I did,
substituted
I
hardy
understand
plank.
that, I'm just
So,
wondering how
I
we
do,
get-
I'm happy to have that conversation, I just don't wanna get us confused
Okay.
with the Gollabart
Fine.
application, that's
Fine.
all.
Okay, we'll deal with this
So we
later.
can talk about that here in a second, but maybe we just finish with the
Sure.
Right,
the
right.
review of
Is
the
there any
Gollabart
further
application.
Good
discussion
point,
on
yeah.
this applicant's
Yeah,
application?
Is he using clapboard or vinyl?
No, he's using hardy
Hardy
plank.
plank.
Hardy.
Hardy.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
I'll make
I'll
a
make a
motion to, if that's the only change here, I can make a motion to approve.
Marty, did you have anything about the accessory building?
I'm wondering what the height of the garage was. I didn't see it on, I'm not sure if I missed it. How that compared with the main structure.
I don't know exactly, I know it's shorter.
It is, and I did look at that too, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's not on the
yeah,
elevation.
it's on here.
What does it need to be?
Well, it comes under the building code, actually.
Yeah,
the height.
it was within zoning compliance. When I did my review,
Okay.
I did look at the height and its relation to the main structure.
Yeah, I
and
guess
it
just,
met the requirements. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I didn't bring my zoning
yeah, I
review sheet with me.
wasn't aiming for a gotcha kind of thing there. I was just trying to picture it visually, how much you see from that beyond the house is all I was trying to kind of visualize there.
Well, if the zoning says it's okay.
And it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like it's,
It's gonna be occupied, Katie?
They intend to, for the first floor will be garage, the second floor currently for storage. They've indicated maybe for the future that might have bonus room capacity. As part of the zoning clearance, when we issue that, we will put the notation, if it's ever going to be considered for dwelling space, that would require additional approvals from the town through a
Right.
conditional use permit.
Right.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make,
Mike? Okay, Kathy?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Application's been approved. Good luck.
Thank you,
Wish you well.
appreciate it, thanks everybody.
Thank
You're
you.
Thanks.
So to come back before we move on to other business, to the point raised by the chairman, we recognize that the zoning ordinance has items in it that aren't consistent with everything that's in the historic district guidelines. And I think this is matters that we are trying to address and identify with our consultant as they go through their process to see how we address that moving forward.
But you see what conundrum we run into
Yes, I
When-
do, absolutely.
when applicants come before us and there's two sets of,
You're correct, and under the zoning ordinance, that's a requirement, your guidelines are a standard, you're trying to apply, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a must-have.
no,
The zoning ordinance is a must-have, yes.
okay.
Okay.
Just
And in this case, those particular applicants were willing to substitute the materials list.
Maybe this shouldn't be brought up now, but would this be changed if the new guidelines change?
There would have to be consistency between the two documents, yes, and we recognize this is an area of inconsistency right now, yes.
Okay, very good.
I'm gonna have a related question on this one coming up, but
Maybe we should wait.
I'll
on this.
identify as such, huh?
Maybe we should wait on this and maybe have a discussion at a work session of some type, because this is really,
Yeah, so it's not apropos to the specific, okay.
we can do that if everyone agrees to a work session, maybe even be brought up to,
Yeah, let's do it.
be brought up to snuff with the,
It's a
new
minor
people
point, but
doing
it's a
guidelines.
kind of similar instance, and there could be more, so yeah.
okay, moving on. New business, no solar panel applications, roof replacement, no applications filed. Item 6C, fence installation. Is Mr. Carey gonna be on the phone?
He was gonna try to get to the place where he could call.
Is Mr. Carey available?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Hi, this is Historic District Review Board. You wanna tell us about your application?
Sure, yeah, I'd like to put a 6-foot wooden fence around the rear of the property, the back of the house, basically around the perimeter. The fencing material is the kind of standard dog ear, wooden fence, treated wood. Several houses area my neighbors got it, so I think it looks pretty nice. And it's, we'll talk to the neighbors, and we're gonna put it with the, in the clearance, or with, that requirement, whatever, the ordinance is 1 inch, at least from the property line, so we'll follow that.
Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, and for Mr. Carey, and I am sorry I didn't have a chance to talk with you directly this last week, but as I noted in the staff report, as a portion of your request, you were seeking a 7-foot high wooden fence on the rear and right side of the property that abuts commercial. Unfortunately, that cannot be approved under zoning. The maximum height we have for fences is 6 feet. So again, my review and approval from a zoning compliance perspective is a maximum 6 feet height for this fence.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, I just thought I would ask,
Sure.
so 6 feet is acceptable.
And I think we've looked at this one before too, and the only question was the extra foot.
No, this is a new
different
one.
Okay.
Any
So-
discussion?
No?
Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make, go ahead.
He's understanding that it's a 6-foot thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right? And he's agreeing to do 6 feet.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to be approved
Second?
at 6 feet.
Someone
A
care?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion's been passed. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We're done with the phones. Okay, item 6E, renovations, additions, and new construction. Number 1 is 220 Monroe Avenue, Stephanie Dennis Libby. Are they present? Yes. Hello, state your name and address, please.
Stephanie Libby, 220 Monroe Avenue, Cape Charles, Virginia, 23310.
Okay, you wanna, I know you've been here before, you wanna
Yes, two months ago we were here and,
Ma'am, could you actually hold the mic up, so, 'cause they're having, the mic that's at the podium, can you hold that?
okay, 2 months ago we were here, and at that time you said that the idea was feasible because there was no existing back door. You requested a material list and more detailed drawings, which we have then supplied. The material list, and the type of door and window that we were gonna replace the 2 windows with.
Mhm. Katie, do you have any input on this?
Again, we are in support for this application. There is no material change to the addition of square footage. So we are supportive of this application.
Any of the members have any additional questions?
No, not really.
I think, was there a question about access underneath?
Something was mentioned about the window, that the deck would be over, supplying light to the basement, but it's to the basement, and if there's sufficient
I
light on either
think we
side.
beat that to death
Yeah.
2 months
and
ago.
sometimes you really don't want that much light in the basement, because it's not that nice looking.
Okay, I have no further questions.
So the only difference from last time is just the materials list, correct?
Correct.
More details.
And
Mhm, pictures.
Yes, and I have pictures of the door and the type of railing we wanted to use also, if you wanted to see it.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for your time.
Motion's
and your
passed.
approval.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good evening.
All right.
All right, item E2, 520 Randolph Avenue, Kathleen and Todd Glazer. That's one of our board members.
And Todd is my son.
Okay.
I'm gonna make you move that side of the table.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure.
Just so everybody's really clear that you are recusing yourself from participating as a board member,
Yes.
since you are an applicant this evening.
You'll have to state your name and address, please.
Kathy Glasser. I live at 530 Randolph, and I now own 520 Randolph as well. So this is actually a pre-approval because at the time I put it together, we didn't have our site plan and a lot of the other information, which came available just this week, or end of last week, but not with enough time to get it, all the zoning approval. Basically, we're redoing the entire house. There is a drawing with the addition that's gonna be on there. The issue for zoning is that the addition extends beyond the lot line, but I own the lot next to it as well. And we are in the process of having that lot line vacated, so it'll become all one property. Materials, the roof will be timberline, architectural shingles. Windows are the atrium 1/1 double hung with the historic Ram's Head design 2-inch sills. I've been sitting next to you for a while. The siding, we're gonna leave the existing shingles. We're gonna leave the existing shingles on the front of the house, and then the addition will be covered with hardy plank, and the shingles will be painted to match. Decking will be tongue and groove timber tack, AZAC railing, and the foundation is gonna be, of both the new and the existing will be brick. We'll have to, raise up the front because it's kind of sinking and do some pointing of the bricks on the front, but the addition in the back will have matching brick. The question we had is the pitch on the roof line. It is a 312. Wait, I can't read my. It's very shallow. But if you look at the drawing, we have no choice, because of the windows above it. We can't go any higher.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we're gonna leave it at that. There are three dormers actually in the roof right now. All that were added after the house was built, all substandard, leaking significantly, and all three together facing each other. So we're taking all the dormers out and restoring the roof back to its original roof line on the top.
Oh, the house.
The house is 1907. It's on the registry.
What is the existing roof material on the house? On the main structure, not on the porch? The roof material?
The pitch? Is that
No,
what-
No,
the
material.
the material of the...
Materials, it has old asbestos shingles
That's asbestos on the roof? Okay.
on the original
I
portion.
wasn't sure. It looks almost like a metal roof,
It's not,
but it's been, I know
it's
it's
just
been
been
covered,
faded
and, yeah.
yeah. So we'll redo that and the
As a
addition.
side note, is there any special protocols about removing the asbestos?
We have to call in special removal team.
Is there an additional permit also to be pulled for that?
Is there a permit
You have a special permit?
for
No.
the asbestos?
Yeah.
I imagine there is.
I don't know, I'm just a question.
Yeah, we haven't put any permit requests in other than, I think, electrical.
Right, so at the time when they're doing the building permit, if there's asbestos potential, yes, they will have to get those certifications and
Okay.
removal and compliance with that.
We're also gonna be burying the electrical
Does
lines.
this fall within the new parameters of our years of date for historic, or contributing or non-contributing, or we don't use that anymore?
This is contributing.
It is contributing.
Contributing,
So
yeah.
how can you remove the dormers?
They were not part of the original structure, and they're not structurally sound. In fact, one extends beyond the roof pitch.
This is a question, Kathy.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Do
saying.
we have evidence that they were not there originally? Is there any photos? or-
Well, I know that the people that owned the house before me put them in. I have a picture that I can show you.
Well, this is what we're here for, it's a pre-application meeting, so these are the very
Yeah.
questions that should be asked.
Right, and that's fine. I was trying to get my grandson to do his drone up there so we could see it.
So you're removing the ones that are currently there to bring it back to the original roof line? Or are you adding a different type of dormer?
No, so, that's,
Okay, that's the shed dormers there. Okay, you have the AC in that window there.
and
Okay.
all three of them,
Oh, these are also all in the rear of the house?
yes,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
and all three of them face each other.
That's a weird situation.
Well, what they had done, the owners before me had it as a duplex.
Okay.
And so they made the attic living space, and they put the dormers in there, because there was a kitchen and a bathroom up there.
Okay.
Those have since been vacated, that they didn't use that space for a long time.
So the roof line from the front is essentially staying the same? Okay.
Yes, you cannot see the dormers at all from the front.
Is there gonna be any chimney removal?
There is a chimney there, I'm gonna leave the original chimney, but they had put in a metal
Liner.
additional, and it's not, there's no reason, there's no fireplace, it's not venting anything. So I wanna take the metal off, but leave the brick chimney,
Okay.
which is, again, original.
Mm-hmm, enhances it, you know.
So what do you have to bring back to us as far as the zoning is concerned?
And I know you've submitted, stuff has been coming in this week to us, so we were seeking a site plan, a full materials list, and any other questions or points you raised from today's meeting, additional clarifying information you needed. It'd be great, whatever picture you just showed, if you can submit that to
Yeah,
Tracy,
I'll
just so
send that.
we have that part of the record. It'd be great.
Yeah, I think you mentioned some of it, Kathy. I just had a few bullet points when I was reading through it. Just some clarification on the front porch. I think it just said reframe. New roof, what's being kept, what's being replaced, and replacement windows.
We will be replacing some of the windows, but not all of them. Again, I have pictures from it. The windows on the first floor are completely rotted all the way through the frames. So we will use the existing space to match the size and just put a new window in there. AZAC trim with the ledge, 1/1. The windows on the second floor probably can be salvaged. So it'll just, I think there's like 4 or 5 on the first floor that have to be done. And we will have to replace the front door. Now, you can't really see it because it's got a portico around it,
Right.
but the door, I'm not sure how they did this, but the door is only 70 by 26 inches, which is like way too small.
Right.
I would like to put an ADA compliant door in. So we will have to enlarge the door shape.
Is your portico removable?
No, it's part of the permanent structure. It's
Okay.
been there all along.
Some of them are removable.
Yeah, no, this is fixed.
Right, okay.
Just curious, how large is the back door? How do you get anything in or out?
Well, there'll be a new back door
Yeah,
through the addition.
just curious if,
It'll be standard
What it-
size, which is what, 30?
3068.
Yeah.
Okay. You've already provided much of the material requested, but there's just, do you think you'll
All
have?
this was provided sort of
So-
after the fact,
so
so Katie
Maybe
didn't
by the
have it.
next meeting, we'll have everything we never,
Yes.
okay,
So we will bring this back at your next meeting.
okay.
And hopefully by then, we'll
steps,
have
I think,
the
right?
plot, the
Is there
land
need for ADA?
lot line vacated. They're working on that now.
Kathy, one more question.
Sure.
You said you wanted to put an ADA compliant door in?
In the front.
Right. Do you have a ramp to the porch?
No, and it's not, it's for my own purposes. It's not, you don't have to have a ramp just to have,
No, I know.
yeah. No, I'm not planning on putting a ramp up.
Okay. I was wondering why you were gonna go.
Because the existing door is just so small, it's very hard to get in and out. And I do have a family member that has special needs.
That's cool. All right, it's not cool, but it's, yeah.
So, not having seen the documentation you submitted yet, I just want to make sure that there's real clarity between what's the existing square footage you're proposing to remove off the back, and what's the new square footage being proposed, just so I can do the zoning comparison, zoning compliance review, that's all.
It's gonna be close because there is an additional building in the back
Okay,
that is huge. It's 18 by 36, and it goes all the way to the lot, it's within inches of the lot line.
okay. So, if I don't have it, I'll be calling you to get clarity.
Yeah, no, it's shown on the
Okay.
site plan.
Is there
Any
any
other
further
questions?
the members of this board need from the applicant?
Not at this
Don't think
time, no. I don't have any more questions.
I don't have any more.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So we'll just wait until the
That's
next
correct, and
meeting?
we'll bring this back at next month's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll have all the pictures.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay. Item E, where am I?
616.
Yes.
Coburn with 616 Strawberry. How are you doing?
Good.
Good to be here. So I was here, we were on a Zoom meeting a few months ago. It seems like a million years ago now. We just decided to scale back the project significantly so we could, get the finances done and wouldn't have to be up against the zoning issues that we're seeing because it is an irregular lot. So we just want to kind of restore the property as it is, obviously within your, your guidelines. So that's what we're looking to do today. So there are 4 main changes that we'd like to make. One would be adding the hardy plank siding. The material that was used previously was all rotted. It was, I apologize, I can't remember the name of it, but it's something that they don't even use anymore because it's not sustainable. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I have listed here, is replacing the stoops on the front of the building and the side. And again, no change in footprint, no change in style. There were, when I would go into the property, when we looked at it, you had to be very careful because the boards were so rotted, you might step through. So purely a safety thing that we wanted to, make safe steps into the building. The third thing is to replace the front door. Again, the door is rusted out, and so just want to replace it with something that will be safe. And then the only, I think, significant change out of this would be the fourth thing, which is there's a bump out on the side of the building that was once used as a utility closet. It doesn't have a door on it now. Because the house is so small, we were hoping to be able to capture that space through the interior by making a storage closet / laundry room type of room. So we would just want to, as we were replacing the siding on the building, change, not put a door back up there and put siding across that so that we could make it interior space. But no changes to the footprint, no changes to the style of the building.
You're correct. We don't have a drawing. Again, as my report noted, limited approval had been given to Ms. Coburn at the March 16th, well, not at the March 16th meeting, on March 16th by the town manager at that time when we were still having some staffing movement in this department. And it was only to allow for repairs and maintenance to the roof, siding in front and side stoops to weatherize the dwelling. Since that time, it came to our attention in the office that actually the work was progressing beyond that limited approval. So we issued a stop work order, and so that's why she is before you this evening to try and address this items. So if you feel that there are still additional items that you would need to make a consideration, we do have the drawings of how it exists today, of what the property looks like today. She's done.
That's not a drawing, that's a picture.
I know, it's a picture, so she has not invested the funds into doing true architectural drawings at this point in time, because they're really not looking to add square footage. They're just looking to not have that door be here and make it an interior door access for that bump out that's already there.
What's the square footage of the house?
600 square feet, 660, something like that.
What's the square footage, what's the footprint of the house on the lot?
I can tell you, give me 1 second.
The lot is 3,500 square foot.
Yeah.
If the house is 660 thereabouts, right? So we're talking,
Are the setback requirements correct? I mean, I don't understand, we're asked to look at something, but we don't have any documentation.
You do, because she's not adding any square footage. This is an existing structure here today. She's not adding any square footage at all to the home structure, at all.
The footprint stays the same.
Yeah. Footprint is exactly the
As
same.
long as there's no zoning problems.
And the entire square footage, I've just pulled up the county records just to make sure it's a total of, the single-family home is 640 square feet. The furnace boiler room, which is this utility shed, is 30 square feet. So it's a total of 670 square feet is the total size of this structure, of this house. And she's not looking to add any square footage to it. She's just looking to create an interior ingress egress to that boiler room. and not have an exterior door in that space,
Okay.
yes.
What's the minimum square footage of the houses in town, or what's allowed in town? There's a minimum square footage.
There is, and again, she's in compliance with that at this point, because this is an existing house structure, so it would be called a legal non-conforming house. So one second.
I think
let me
it's
flip over to
540, but I'm just talking off the top of my head.
No, it's a little bit more than that.
I like to get exact, so give me
Yeah.
one second. I'm pulling up that ordinance right now.
There is a smaller one.
What?
There's a smaller one in town.
Really?
Zoning district.
Yeah, over by,
There we
the-
go. There we go.
The distributor, Wendell's.
Oh, you're right.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I was
little
in
white
this
one.
ordinance before, I'm in a far different section right now, so I'm scrolling my way up as fast
Okay,
as
so
I
Katie,
can.
what you're telling me is because the existing structure, it really doesn't matter.
That's correct, it's considered what I would call a legal non-conforming, structure, and so she can continue to do this. But you asked a question, I wanna give the answer. So, typically, a minimum dwelling unit size shall be 960 square feet, with a maximum dwelling unit size to be 4,500
Oh.
square feet.
Okay.
However, because this is a legal non-conforming lot, meaning this house is in existence prior to when the town adopted zoning,
Right,
it can be a smaller square footage than the minimum standard in our ordinance today.
grandfather kind of,
Yes.
yeah. Mhm.
So do you want to go down by the four things that she's asking for? She's asking for hardy plank, put the door, new door in the rear, close the bump out, cover that with new siding.
She wants to incorporate the bump out with the interior of the house.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, that's, from a zoning perspective, if she can reduce the non-compliance status of the property, that's an improvement. So if she can continue to increase the square footage of the house to get us to at least the minimum standard, that's considered a bonus or a
Okay.
positive step
What are you
forward.
gonna do with the handrails on the front porch?
With the handrails, we're gonna make them look exactly the same as they were.
There's a picture.
I think I took a screenshot of the material that we're gonna use, with the balusters, and this is what was there before. They were just plain straight up and down.
No, they're not like that.
Um,
I have the photo here. You have a cap railing here, and at least the rear, is this the rear? No, this is the front. That's a different type of style that you just showed us.
Yours are capped, you see,
So the wood was on top, you mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
okay,
Sure. I
That's
mean,
preferable than that.
Okay,
right, you have to have a handrail.
sure. Yeah, for sure, that makes sense.
Are the steps brick?
No, they were wood.
They're wood?
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna replace them
Yes,
with wood?
with wood.
Okay.
There is no stairs there now. They're gone. Those stairs are no longer in existence. They're removed. Yeah,
I see them.
they're on the photo they're here, but they've been removed.
Well, I didn't know that.
Well, again, we issued a stop work order because we felt the work was progressing beyond what the authority had been issued by the town. So we made her stop all work on the house this summer
Okay.
and required her to amend the application, get it into this board appropriately so it can be reviewed and discussed. I did want to also state that this is a non-contributing structure in the historic district.
Correct.
Okay.
So the stairs are gone and she's gonna replace them with, what she
Yeah, I
said.
know.
Are you gonna put new shutters on, replace the shutters as,
We were gonna, yes, just make it look exactly as much as we can. Make
Are
it
they gonna be
exactly
wood or
as it
vinyl?
was, So that we don't.
you're gonna have them wood or vinyl shutters? Do you know what was on there before they were removed? Were they wood or vinyl?
Oh, they were wood, they were wood.
It'd be nice if you could replace them with wood.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if we could save the ones that we have, we will.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some of them were, just because again, the siding material was so rotted that they were, crumbling, but, so we're gonna save as much as we can.
Okay, good.
So are we looking for final approval at this point?
Katie, what are we looking for, a pre-app or
No, we are hoping
Fine.
you will take action this evening on the application before you as is. If you feel that there's additional information that you need that is not contained in this application, please specify and we will acquire that from the applicant and bring it back to you if you feel you cannot make a decision this evening.
I'd like to know exactly how the railing's gonna look. I mean, because that's definitely different than what was on there existing.
You have you have this photograph, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you know what we're talking about?
I do,
All right.
I do know. It's,
All right.
instead of the balusters being set on the outside, they would be,
Right.
I know what you mean.
And if you do it in a hardy plank, that's acceptable. The shutters, wooden shutters would be great
Right.
if they're gonna happen.
That's what she's doing.
Paint, you're gonna paint the wood for the stairs?
We will paint it to be white, which it was before.
Okay, and closing the utility opening, reframe that and just side it over with hardy plank. And you're gonna change the rear door and new stairs back there.
The front door.
How about their side door? Isn't that their side rear door there?
I have no plans to change that. That's actually a really nice door. I like it.
All right, well, how about the stairs? You need to replace
Those
those.
stairs will be replaced in the same material that we'll use for the front. Also all rotted.
Does anyone have any more discussion on this?
No,
Is everybody happy?
I'm
Does
just,
everybody understand
I'm
what
just
she's asking?
confused, that's all. You know, I stay confused.
Does anyone want to make a motion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that you have the right to proceed.
That I want,
You can proceed.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna
Or
make
we
it
want to have a
simple.
we want to have a definite,
And I think you want to be specific
Yeah.
because the
I would like to
railings,
be specific about your handrails so that you know
Okay.
exactly, if you could run that by Katie.
Okay.
whose horn's going on?
It's
mine.
him.
The- You know, the hounds are loose. It won't turn off. Anyway, if you could run that by Katie
Okay.
so that
We will make that part of this vote this
I'm
evening.
making part of the motion that she gets it approved by you,
Okay.
because you know exactly what we're talking about,
I heard you.
okay? If you would do that, then you don't have to come back to us, you could go with Katie,
Thank you.
okay?
As much as I'd love to
Pardon
see
me?
you guys. As much as I'd love to come and see you again. Thank you.
Okay, well, you can come back anytime, you know,
Yeah, later.
So everything else is approved.
everything
just
else is approved, yes.
Pending the stair
Okay.
stairwell.
Thank you.
we have to second this motion.
Oh,
We
I
have to-
second.
It's your builder.
All in
I
favor?
know.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion's been approved with the condition of the railing being approved with the zoning administrator.
What he wants.
Good luck with that. It's
Good
not
luck.
contributing, but it's a special house, and Ned, you know that.
Here tonight, yes.
I wonder what he wants.
Probably to talk to me.
Talk to you?
Other business? It's gonna be a report from,
Before we move on, just so the
Okay.
public knows, the last item on our agenda, 6:30 Tazewell.
okay.
Yeah.
We received a correspondence from the representative, Claudine Pierce, requesting that this item be removed from tonight's agenda because they may make some further adjustments to their application documentation. So if we receive that resubmission, we will put that on for your next agenda.
So noted. Also, wasn't there a question about the timing of the last date or hour you can submit for an
Yes,
application?
there are deadlines now for each month that we advertise and put it out on our website as well. So at this point, I'm being realistic, they may not make it back in for this next month. I need to still talk with Ms. Pierce to find out the extent of the changes they were seeking and how long it may take to get.
Do we have that timetable?
It's on our website.
Okay.
We post the schedule
Or
of
an
meeting
architect.
calendars.
Okay.
That includes the deadline for submission of application documentation to get on a particular month.
Okay.
So, and you actually will be voting the new calendar at next month's meeting, so that we start to advertise that moving forward, for the January cycle moving onward. So, we're working on that calendar to come for your adoption at your October meeting as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So. Then in other business, so I have provided you any items that have come before me that I considered that can be done as minor exemptions for an administrative review. I have heard from one member who would like some further clarification on 620 Caswell Avenue, so I will pull that file and provide that information on what specifically was approved, what documentation was provided to my office to allow me to classify it for a minor exemption administrative review. If any other member has a question on any of these, I'd be happy to pull the file and answer it. Otherwise, I just wanted to keep you informed what else
Okay.
I'm saying
Thank you.
yes to.
Look good to me. Yeah.
Then, since we have plenty of time this evening, we deferred acting on these at our last month's meeting, but I would like to take some time to go through our bylaws for the
No.
Historic District Review Board.
Well,
Go for it.
on that, I want to back up, but now, yeah, yes, I have the honor of being on more than one board, and yesterday, there was a considerable number of changes made to what was proposed, and I think it might be beneficial if this assembly was aware of those changes, because I have a feeling they're going to agree with many of the changes that were made to what was proposed in the manner of the chair and his role and not needing to second all those things. And we can go through them tonight. It shouldn't take long, but it wasn't, there was a reaction to what was proposed, let's put it that way, that may be consistent with our reaction, just as, I don't know. We could go through it again, but.
Sure, and maybe we take this time this evening to see if there are any questions, because we've had no discussion at all on this matter by this
Okay.
body.
Okay.
And so you're correct in saying the Planning Commission, so let me give a little history to everyone so they're aware of this. For the last few months, I've been going through all the boards and commissions that I staff, looking at bylaws and trying to bring them up to current standards today, seeing where they might be in disharmony with any town policies or state law. So we wanted to make those changes as well and try and reflect actually how business is being conducted in the document also. In addition, Town Council has recently adopted 2 new policies, one dealing with citizen participation and one dealing with code of conduct, code of ethics. And so those are also now included as appendices to this document. And so we are ensuring that each one of our boards and commissions receives those documents, and we are bringing more operational policies in line with those policies that the Town Council has adopted. So with that background behind you, if I could just kind of go through a couple of these. And I'm happy if we don't adopt this evening and make it a further review based upon Planning Commission review of their document, which is similar in nature to yours. There are slightly different mission statements to both of these commissions. Planning Commission has different functions and a different way of conducting their hearings depending upon what's before them. Whereas you do have a much more engaged, interactive process with your applicants because you really need to get into a conversation with them. It's not quite as structured or formal as, say, a formal Planning Commission public hearing on zoning review, a zoning text amendment, or conditional use permit coming before them. So the Historic District Review Board has a slightly more conversational bent to how you conduct your meetings. So I say that just to say there is a slightly different flavor of the 2 bodies, that's all.
And this is just yesterday, so it's too soon to expect that we would know what happened yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't written up those changes
Right,
yet.
okay.
So did you adopt these changes yesterday?
No, we had
No.
several amendments being proposed at yesterday's work session. So we're writing all those up and bringing those back to the Planning Commission. As I said,
Yeah.
this is not a word-for-word copying of
Right.
your bylaws are the same as the Planning Commission bylaws. There are differences between the two organizations because, again, you have different missions and purposes of what you're charged to be doing.
Right.
And it wasn't contentious, it was,
No.
very readily accepted as what was suggested and all like that.
Well, exactly, because probably one of the biggest factors that I read in our, I guess our bylaws that says participating, eligibility for participating. We we have people who want to buy a house or build a house here who are non-residents and not property owners.
Yeah.
They're not full-time residents, they're not part-time residents, they're looking to build a house here, so that really they, and what I read for the ability to be able to communicate with the board, that they wouldn't have the right to talk, the way it was written.
In terms of an application before this body, they either have to purchase the property,
Right.
or they have to have entered into a purchase and sales agreement for the purchase with an agent,
Where-
meaning
where
the
did you-
underlying property owner
Is
has
that written?
acknowledged.
Do you have that written?
Actually, yes, we actually require there to be an affidavit. If they are not the existing property owner, we are required to receive an affidavit from the existing property owner that they've given authority for the potential purchaser to file such an application and come
Right.
seek these permits.
Not questioning you at
Yes.
all, this is, I don't have that information though, how would we know that? Where's the clarity in the fact that there's,
Well, when they come to name, the
In
name
order
and
to get-
address.
you know, where's the documentation that says that we have, do you have that?
No,
No,
We do. Your staff has that.
right.
The office has that. Yes. Yes. So if there's an affidavit that is required, we will provide that to you. Otherwise, we have confirmed that they are the legal property owner
Okay.
to represent and come
It's
before
part of
you.
the application.
Right.
Okay.
So it's part of the application packet that goes out to them, and so, yes, I am checking to see what's the county record saying for ownership. If there's a discrepancy between the application and the county records, I say, okay, let me see the purchase deed that got filed, because there is a lag from when things get reported in the clerk's office
Sure.
to when it finally makes
Right.
the county
I totally, I
GIS
understand
system.
that. I just,
And if there's still that discrepancy, I am asking to see either a purchase and sales agreement that's giving a contingency clause, and we require them to give us a property affidavit from the actual owner of the property, that they have the right to file this application.
right,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. No, and that's not just for this body. We do that for the planning commission, we do that for the Board of Zoning Appeals, we do that for each of our boards to make sure that we are dealing with the listed property owner, or
Exactly.
that authority has been granted by the listed property owner for an application to be filed. Yes.
Where'd the babies go?
She was about 15 minutes behind me.
So any particular questions? And I think one of the things that we were trying to do is standardize a few things in here. So if I can go through each article really quickly, and again, take your comments and questions that you have on this.
Do we have a copy of this?
It was at the end of the
they're at the end.
pages, 118 to 21 or something like that. Page. At the last 9 pages or so.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not looking for you to adopt this evening, because it sounds like we might want to just give you some clarity on a few items and ensure we have consistency in terms of what other changes other bodies have recommended to their own documents. So with that said, we're trying to make your membership clause into Article 2 equal to what is in the zoning ordinance for membership requirements, which does state that it will include a planning commissioner, member, as well as professionals in the disciplines of architecture, history, historic preservation, archaeology, or related professions, and professionals in the disciplines of planning, building, construction, or real estate.
You have
So-
a copy?
Yeah, you want it?
No.
So the only question I had comes from Article 7,
Okay,
specifically 7.3, according to Robert's Rules of Order. And it says, seconds to motions are not required. The chair may speak, make motions, and vote on all matters. Obviously, a motion doesn't have to be seconded, but I felt like the way this was written, this could be confusing to interpret.
that's great, and that is actually one of the points that Michael was referencing in the planning commission. They discussed this at length yesterday, and they said traditionally, we have always had seconds, so they would prefer that, and they recognize that under this procedure for small boards, you don't have to have seconds, but if that's something you'd like to continue in that tradition, we can strike that sentence from here, so that we continue with that tradition of a motion and a second being made by this body. That's under the
That is
bylaws,
page
it's
110
page 6, if that
on the
helps any.
total.
Article 7,
We have it on
and 7-3 specifically. So if that's something that the whole board would like, we can
What
take
did
that.
the planning commission say?
Oh, it was a no-brainer. I mean,
That's been their tradition, and they want that
I was
stricken.
gonna say, the way it was proposed, a chair could make a motion, he could say, vote yes, all in favor, aye, and the thing's over with before people even realize what's going on. So, it just, that's why I say it was, everybody agreed that what, a lot of this was being proposed was not appropriate, but there may be some places in here that are good, and the business with tie votes and all may be one of those, but, you know, I'm easy.
No, and I have no issue for it, I just wanted to make you aware that's what's in the procedures
I
for
agree
small
with
boards.
Michael 100% there.
And
has
I'm
to be
fine
a-
with that, if that's the tradition you'd like to keep doing, we're happy with
My opinion
that.
is there should be a second,
Sure,
Yeah.
okay, we can delete that.
correct?
It's our teddy bear.
I mean, that's farmers.
Well, we don't have to vote on this right now.
Right, no, but
When-
we
when-
will make that change and bring it back at your next month's meeting. If there are any further changes you'd like to discuss, we can do
I
that.
don't know that, I can't say that I went through all
Why
of
does there
these
have to
for
be a
this
second?
meeting.
Why? Because what Michael just said, Ed could just make a motion and pass it without a second, and
Well, he
it's-
can't,
You
he
have to
can't,
vote.
he can't pass it, you still have to vote
Right.
by this body. It's just no
So he
second is
makes the
required to
motion
make
and
a
then takes the
motion,
vote.
go for vote, that's all. But again, if that's, there's not a big issue.
Maybe just having a second is adequate.
And it's fine if you want a second, as I said, it's
No,
tradition.
It gives you a little pause
Marty.
and let you think one last time, you know, in my mind, for the second.
I think, don't you think it's important?
I don't mind keeping it. I don't have an objection to it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
still
I-
have to vote.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a pretty standard part of the kind of 6 components of the rules of order. I don't see why there would be any reason to do
away with it.
anything different.
So it's easy enough to delete that.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, okay.
So leave it.
No, you're gonna take out, seconds to motions are not required, we're gonna be deleting that sentence. What's being proposed.
Seconds are required.
Right. So. Any other particular section you'd like to discuss further this evening?
Well, is this bylaws gonna be brought up with the new guideline people writing? Are they gonna be,
No, it's really how we operate as a board. How do we convene a meeting? What do
Apart
our
from the
agendas
guidelines,
look
yeah.
like in terms of a structure? We're happy to share this with them to see if they offer any further comments on it, but it's really not under their scope of work at all, because this doesn't come out of the authority of your zoning ordinance nor out of the guidelines. This is really how we run the meeting administratively, how are we accepting applications and getting things before you, and how we're disposing of informing people of your decisions. That's really what we're trying to cover in here, how you follow open meeting law under the state code, how we're notifying people what your meeting schedule is, things of that nature. What happens if we've had a bad storm and we had a scheduled meeting, what do we do about that? Things of that nature. So we're putting that structure in place at this point, dealing with that. How you select having a chairman and a vice chairman and your secretary. So again, those really is not part of historic guidelines, that's not part of what the consultant is doing at all. So I guess the one item we wanted to highlight for you is, right now, your secretary does not have to come from a member of the sitting body. It can be a member of the staff, and that's currently how we are structured. So I am serving in that capacity as the secretary to this body, or I can't remember if it's you, Tracy, for this one. I'm getting confused between all the boards. One member of your staff is the secretary. We'll confirm which one of us it is. And so we ensure that after every meeting, we're getting out the decisions that you have issued at these meetings. We're issuing the certificates of appropriateness with all the appropriate documentation or requirements contained therein. We're maintaining the minutes. Once a set of minutes comes before you, you approve them. We're keeping them where we keep all the other minutes for this board. We make sure that they get onto the website. Those are the things that we're doing from an administrative point of view. The only other item I really wanted to bring to your attention is on Article 10. just to get this clear, so that we will do an organization of this body once a year. In terms of, and your appointment terms run February, I believe it's February 1 to January 31st of each year. And so once that, whatever appointments may have happened, we do an annual organization that would happen at your February meeting, where you again would have your selection of officers. And so that's just something for you guys to start thinking about, of how you do your selection of officers. Do you try and keep the same chairman, vice chairman, or do you try and rotate that in and out so that you're building corporate strength, so to speak, so that everybody's getting the experience of running a meeting and running that for a year's time? Do you have that sort of transition from officer to officer? Something for you to think about. Doesn't have to be written into your policy that you change who your chairman is, but it's just something I want you guys to start thinking about how we do that. Because I think what has been evident for me is the need to ensure we have built strength and depth amongst all of our boards and commissions, and we don't just rely upon one person to do all that heavy lifting for 5 to 7 years. So that would be one of my recommendations when I talk to each individually, is really to think about ensuring that the leadership refreshes itself each year. That's all, so that everybody's getting some exposure and experience to running and carrying the load of these meetings. Because as Ed knows, as the current chairman, it's not just showing up at these meetings. I'm talking with him throughout the month about what's come on the agenda, issues, making sure we're good on the agenda, and right before each meeting, anything else come up, and making sure we're good to go for the night. So,
Just curious,
yes.
does the other boards have that also?
It's a conversation I'm having with each of them. Again, it's never written into any bylaw that you have to change your chair and
There's
vice
some
chairman, but there's
conversation going
always
on.
an organizational meeting that is structured into every set of bylaws. So that's just something I'm asking everybody to think about, just from my own experience. I've been at this for 24 years now in local government. It's good to ensure your boards turn over in terms of changing out your chairmanship and vice chairmanship if not every year, at least every 2 years, so that you're spreading that obligation, responsibility, and experience teaching to various members. Because I have had some boards where they've never changed it, and that means when that chairman finally chose to walk away, nobody else on the board was really prepared to step up, because it had been almost 10 years since anybody else had to do that kind of heavy lifting. And then when they started to realize how much the chairman had been doing, that depleted the board really fast. So it's just something to think about from yourselves, that's all. I'm not saying you need to do that, I have to do that, it's just something to kind of start pondering as you move forward, that's all.
And we're not talking about 10-2 here. This is just off the cuff
Off the cuff,
advice.
that's all it is, yep.
Yeah.
So I guess the annual review that's going to now take place in February,
It's not a review, it's your organizational meeting. Because there may be new members that come on board, depending on the appointment cycle for each of you. I really don't know what your terms are right now.
well, I mean, it's just to revise the bylaws.
Right, so we will bring that part as part of the annual review, the annual organization,
Which-
we'll bring the
sure.
bylaws back again.
Reviewing the bylaws
Yes,
effectively.
yes.
No, I was just curious why February? I mean, that's term expiration is what I was thinking, but,
First
It
of the
is.
year.
It's set up to your term expiration, so when I looked, your terms expire in January.
which made me think that you could have expiration of terms and substantial change to the bylaws right there, but
That
One
could
way,
happen when new
sure.
members come on board, yes. And that's tradition, I've seen that in every board I've ever staffed, is we have an organizational meeting.
onboarding
Once
and
new
then,
officers, once new members have taken appointment, they get a right to set whatever rules are
Sure.
gonna govern that board at that point in time. And that would include whatever your officer makeup is as well, so. That's not unusual in my experience at all. And 9 times out of 10, they keep it exactly the same. And because you're not an elected body, you're an appointed body, I'm not looking at an election of all 5 of you. Usually it's an appointment cycle of maybe 1 or 2 of you at most in any given year. So other than that, we did under the orders of business, we did flesh out a little bit of how we currently are structuring the agenda. So for example, when you ask this question, have the consultants, would they weigh in on things like this? We have provided them examples of your current agendas and documentation. Some of the initial feedback is they really like the layout of the agenda we have, and we're kind of listing them, so you're discussing them in themes, which was nice to hear. So that you're considering minor renovations all at the same time, so you're thinking the same guideline all the way through the same number of applications, versus fence consideration, versus a whole new construction, that kind of stuff. So that is the only feedback that might alter this, is what they come back to us about how we're running our meetings in terms of grouping of things, and does it help us to group things, or should we just do them willy-nilly?
I'm curious to know if the board members have been given any thought to changes that they may want to do, or ideas or discussions with the people who are rewriting our guidelines. I mean, we're the ones who live here. We should have some kind of input, I would imagine.
And you will, and so this is a good way to segue into where we are on that consultant process, if we're done the discussion on the bylaws for a moment. So we will make these little changes we made this evening and bring it back at next month's meeting.
That was a good point Ed made. When
Sure.
are we gonna have, is there an agenda as to when we are gonna have the opportunity to discuss?
As I mentioned at the last meeting, the consultant has been hired now. They've negotiated the contract. We just had a kickoff meeting last week, I believe it was, internally with staff and the consultants, to kind of go through what the board is looking for, to make sure we're really clear on the scope of work and any comments or questions that they needed, clarifying information. So they are now working on an internal calendar as to where the review happens, which includes a review with each of you, a review with each of the council members, and when I say a review, really an interview. There's gonna be a questionnaire that will go out to council members as well as to this body, for you to write down your comments. Then they're gonna schedule time to meet with each of you. So they are working on that refined calendar at this point in time based upon our kickoff meeting. So as soon as I have that, we will get that distributed to everyone.
Okay, I just really believe that there has to be 100% clarity between the people who are rewriting the guidelines and the amount of work that I know that Ed and I did, and the other board members that are not on the board anymore.
We have actually provided that document so that they're aware of some of the work that has been done to date. They understand it has never been adopted formally by the town, but we wanted them to see the work product that had been developed up to now.
Right, I mean,
Yes.
at some point, we really worked every week
Yes,
on trying to come up with new guidelines that were acceptable to the town council.
sure.
Because the thing I thought about before I came to the meeting is that the name of this town is the Historic District. It's not Cape Charles, it's the Historic District of Cape Charles. So you can't eradicate the word history out of this area.
I don't think they,
The name of the town isn't the historic district. The town is the town of Cape Charles, but this body is the historic district.
Right,
Yes, that's what you
yeah,
need to be saying.
not all of the town is
Right.
historic
Right.
district.
no,
Right, okay, I understand what you're saying. I got it now.
right, I mean,
Well-
you can't eradicate that part of it.
Will the public
And I don't
be,
think they're
will there
trying
be
to
a
do
public
that.
meeting?
There
for
will,
input?
there will be a public participation meeting. I think we're still trying to figure out where on the calendar that's gonna be, because we think we would like to have some draft document for the public to actually engage and comment upon.
Do you know if there'll be some kind of survey for the public, or?
There actually will be something included, I believe it's in the round of water bills that's going out for this coming month. So yes, we wanted to make sure that that there is a survey participation
Yeah,
level.
I think the town members should be in on this.
And it's gonna be included in the water bills, and I think it made it for the round of water bills that are getting ready to go out. I don't think it had to wait a month. I think it's gonna happen here in this next cycle.
Very good.
Okay?
Now, Tracy, do these meetings have sign-up sheets for people that want to say something? No, they do, because that's not on the agenda, a proposed agenda.
It doesn't need to be on the agenda. It's part of the citizen participation guidelines, that there's this sign-up sheet. Yes.
But does it come before the called order of the chair or roll call?
Yeah, it's
or-
in there.
It's public comment.
Public
Right,
comments is
there
on
you
there.
go,
Right,
okay.
it's on there.
Oh, not here, but.
No, okay. That's fine.
So, and,
Right here,
and the,
number 3.
The difference, and this is important because you're one of those other bodies that fall in this, almost every item that you're doing is on an application file. You're not a policy-setting board per se, you're just not.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Similar to the Board of Zoning Appeals, they're acting upon applications received to them. They're not, they are setting policy of any kind.
Well, that's why I had the problem with the zoning with that vinyl
Sure.
and with our guidelines. It just
And we
clashes.
recognize that there is some conflict between those two documents, yes. Yes. So in that regard, when we say public comment here, yes, it's there, but we also seem to be, to allow a general open exchange
Hey, you guys.
on every
Hey,
application, and sometimes we're extending that to include
Herb,
their builder or anyone else that has a comment relative to a particular application.
Okay, let's see.
Only one person speaks at a time, apparently. Sorry. So I think, as I said, this gets a little more flexible. I think we've been a little more generous in how we run these meetings and ensuring that we're hearing for all those relative to a particular property and application. So I think you've been completely open in allowing an applicant's builder to step to the table, even if it wasn't listed on the agenda he was coming. If we can get him or her and they're able to participate to add clarity to your conversation, we've done that in the past, and I think that would continue to be the tradition of this board. Your goal is to try and get all the information necessary the night we're hearing it, to hopefully be able to dispense of it that same night if possible.
Question.
That's been,
There is such a difference between the Historic Review Board and the Planning Commission, because we have to have communication with the builder or the owner,
Which you are.
so that,
Yes.
so nobody wants to do away with that, I hope, that
No,
we can't
no.
communicate with these.
No, we're not proposing to do away with that at all, no.
I mean, because that's
And-
part of, if our being able to help the
Yes.
client
yeah.
work through what they may not be familiar with.
Right, and that's
Yeah,
why I
which-
did stress to Michael when he suggested looking at what the planning commission just discussed and resolved. Theirs is a little more structured. Totally, their
agree.
hearing process is much more different than how you convene and engage
I
your
agree. Oh,
your
I totally
application
agree.
process, that's all. So,
That's
And,
all
they're
I
two
underst-
different missions that are being accomplished here, yes.
and maybe I understand now with the first time, the importance of guidelines for this particular body. That's essential, because I think anytime we render a decision that deviates from these guidelines, we've got to say that, and we've got to say, even though the guidelines say this, it was decided to do this. I think the guidelines become the central part of what this particular body does.
Michael, you've been here long enough to hear us say the same thing about vinyl siding. It has to be that thicker
Yeah,
vinyl siding
well,
with dimension, which really works.
yeah.
Well, one.
That's your opinion. We'll see how it
But,
turns out.
well,
We'll
on
see
that,
how it comes
on
out.
that particular point, the videos we saw made an extremely impressive case for other than vinyl siding that
Exactly.
made a believer out of me. You know, I was kind of on the,
Exactly.
but that was a great presentation, you know. Okay.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.